Welcome everybody to the Bucky Hall. It is December 2nd, and I really appreciate Anne. I know that you're in transit, and Manu up at 5 a.m. as usual. So, um, it's an honor to be with both of you um, today, and it's also comforting to be with both of you today. So, um, I guess we'll start with uh, Anne, how do you feel? What do you want to take away from today?
Yep. Hi, Joe. Joe, so sad to hear about the loss of your dad. Yeah. So if anything, just let us know. Okay. To talk to or
Mhm.
to, yeah. Okay. And yes, I have a very packed day today. It starts from now and it'll end very late tonight with a wedding. So, but I made the decision to come down to where the event is to have the call, and then I'll join in the event. It's a whole day thing. So I'll just join. And interestingly, this business is owned by an American lady, helping the local art, fashion and this art thing that we call batik here, and helping Malaysia for to grow our industry here. So it's very interesting working with her. Um, and anyway, I'm looking forward to the call today. Uh, I was I was more like if two of us, then not sure if we can do 2 hours, but now with Manu it'll be just perfect, yeah. And so yes, that's what I how I feel, and let's see what the dynamics is with the three of us. And looking forward to that, yeah.
I think it'll be
And Manu,
great.
yep, looking forward, yeah. And Manu, how do you feel, and what do you expect to take away today?
Yeah, I feel a little bit tired. I'm empathic, Joe. I know what you're going through. It's never easy to lose a parent
Mhm.
and to live with. So, but it's a kind of right. It's likely that you bury your parents, although
Yeah.
sometimes it's not the case. So, uh, my sympathy to you and my encouragement. What I expect today is just for us to continue. I don't know how it's going to pan out, but it looks like it's going to be interesting with Anne driving and and Joe where you are, and we try to prod forward with this and see how far we can progress. That's my expectation. So Joe, how do you feel? What do you expect?
I want to thank both of you for, extending your condolences. It's means a lot. It means a lot that I can come back to this group. It's just been up and down. But I just want to keep push forward. Um, I know that, that's what you two would want for your children. And so um, that's what I'm going to do. It's a little bit harder when you live with somebody and lose somebody in your house, but I'm not the first to go through this, and so I just feel pretty blessed that I have you guys here. So I had a good for me today. I had a pretty good day. We went to a Stoic conference, and it was very productive, I think. So that was cool. Um, my expectation for today is uh, to, kind of just, recenter, start talking about, some of Buckminster Fuller's concepts. And, one of the things really quickly, I'll just mention about my father is um, I remember when I told him a few years back that I was studying Buckminster Fuller, and he said, "Oh, the Fullerene." He knew quite a bit about him. Uh, so that was something that he was aware of Bucky and some of his concepts. So that's my fond memory that I'd like to share with you. And so I'm looking to explore them a little bit more deeply. And so let's get started from there. My expectation is that I'm going to learn something new. So with that, I'll start sharing the screen. I just had it up. Give me one moment. I'm sorry.
Oh my God, I just got through this back lane, which is, there's supposed to be a car park here, and I think they removed it. It's so narrow. My goodness. Okay. Oh shoot, I'm doing the wrong direction. Never mind.
There we go. So, okay, I can get us started with the reading. In the reality of physical resource and knowledge potential, we have 4 billion billionaires on our planet. The probating and delivery of whose legacy, as amassed by the more with lessing contributions and loving sacrifices of all humans in all history, has been postponed by the game of making money with money by those who yet misinformedly operate on the 1810 Malthusian assumption that humanity is multiplying its population at a geometric rate while increasing its life at its life support foods only at an arithmetic rate. Ergo, the money makers assume that there is nowhere nearly enough life support for all. Malthus said that the majority of humans are designed to suffer and die for far short of their potential lifespan. Darwin's survival only of the fittest dictum has combined with that of Malthus to persuade the haves to be intelligently selfish and to legally fortify their haveness position against the have-nots. With legal planning of their lawyer-advised banking leaders, the haves have now succeeded in concerning all the world's monetary gold as well as the preponderance of the world's petroleum resources, along with their refineries and world-around petro delivery systems, together also with acquisitions of all atomic power generating plants, originally paid for by the US taxpayers, and thereafter in serving the monetary system from the wealth system while marking up the negotiable equity value of gold and petroleum tenfold. They also have contrived their own game of intentional monetary banking and international balances of trade and credit accounting, greatly aided by the priorly established existence of 150 sovereign nations around the planet Earth. The division of world political power into 150 sovereign nations is a consequence of thousands of years of successive and individually independent contriving of history's most powerful leaders. the number one strategy of the successful leaders of history successfully successfully established supreme socioeconomic control systems has always been to induce the spontaneous self-divisioning of those designed to be conquered and to keep them spontaneously self-driving and their divisions lethally interarrayed against one another in order to keep them conquered. The longer the self-divisionings can be self-perpetuating, the more spontaneously and the divisions are accepted institutionally by the successive generations as being natural divisions, seemingly as an inherently and individually existence as are different hills, valleys, rivers, and biological species. The prime vulnerabilities of humanity, which make it subject to spontaneous self-dividing, are those different speech patterns, skin color, religions, social customs, class or caste systems, political preferences, and all varieties of individually unique trouble, suffering, and discontent. I'll read this last paragraph and maybe we can comment on this. The historical consequence of these eons ago commenced employment of this grand strategy to divide to conquer and keep divided to keep conquered accounts for the natural acceptance today by world peoples of the seemingly God-given existence of 150 sovereign nations of the world and their respective geographical division of all the world's dry land, as well as for all the specialized categories of human activities. The prime strategy of supreme power wielders accounts for all the many local political divisions within the sovereign nations, as well as for all the religions and for the officially encouraged maintenance of the many languages and proud maintenance of local dialects. Above all, the number one strategy accounts for the emotionally inflamed maintenance of the concepts of different races and classes of human beings and their division into highly specialized categories as culturally maintained by the various systems and power structures over all the highly educated individuals and those intellectuals who, if not focused professionally on highly specialized subjects, might otherwise, as comprehensivists, seem potentially dangerous to the rulers. Maybe I'll read. Does anybody want to comment based on what we've covered so far when we're getting into the some of the divide and conquer strategies that were used by what Bucky's calling the haves? And I also think that there's this, he's getting into one of his major themes, which is actually the comprehensivist versus the specialist, and how specialist keeps us narrowly focused and not able to see the big picture. Thus, there is a way of controlling the population overall. So I think that that's actually one of the more, kind of common themes that Bucky usually talks about. Let me see where we started. Does anybody have any? I mean, he goes into Malthusian economics, where there's an economic approach to scarcity, and that basically that we've that essentially we've created a mindset of scarcity, Does anybody have any other comments, maybe?
It's fine. I think you can continue reading, John, if you want.
Sure. There's also the part about gold, but anyway. I'm glad we're getting into comprehensivity. Oh, wait a minute. Did I go too far there? Yeah, that I did. It is highly relevant to the foregoing that in 1959, science and incontrovertibly demonstrated that all known anthropological and biological case histories comprehensively and scientifically showed that the extinctions of all human tribes of all biological species have always been brought about by overspecializations resultant upon either willful or environment induced inbreeding. If, for instance, we inbreed by mating two fast-running horses, there is the mathematical probability of concentrating that fast-running genes, but also of breeding, breeding in this special capability only by inadvertently breeding out general adaptability to cope with the infrequent high energy concentrating events. For example, exquisitely designed birds' wings are a hindrance in walking, and the long bills of wadding birds, which are perfect for marshland for foraging, are relatively useless in other less specialized feeding. Generalized adaptability is needed to cope with large changes in the environment. Here lies the present chief peril of human passengers on spaceship Earth. World Game makes it clear. Hang on, let me just. World Game makes it clear that the world electrical systems energy network integration and its comprehensive powering of automated special case machinery would most effectively counter the peril of overspecialization of the humans and would introduce the universe operative time energy kilowatt hours per year Commonwealth accounting system. The cosmic accounting will computer establish the up to the moment realized cosmic energy income harnessing thus far accomplished and the technical efficiency levels attained in the various energy employing technologies operative around the world, and the resultant per capita individually enjoyable world commonwealth facilities, and the per capita consumable, employable, and enjoyable credits in respect to any specific consumables, commodities, services, conveniences, or tools as manifest on the satellite relay integrated world computers as individually called for and read out on each individual's electronic computer credit card. The individually available information will govern the individual's design science choices of the highest relative efficiency to be employed. It will also tell people whether they can do this or that, and if so, how they can go most swiftly. For instance, from New York to Australia, and will book travel reservations and will prepay the bill for travel accommodation. All such information is continually computer integrated to produce the Commonwealth evaluations and their readout ability on World Individual's pocket computer credit card. These will always register the World Individual's share of the ever increasingly employable technological savings reserves and their respective technology operative capabilities, with humanity employing such a world-around satellite relayed and world integrated computer accounting system. The world can overnight physically realize omni-billionaire commonwealth of its humans. Does anybody wish to comment on the past couple of paragraphs?
Yes, there's always been this vision of one, the ephemeralization, and second, the point that flexibility and generalized adaptability is necessary to cope with changing environment. Now, I was just wondering, when you juxtapose that with what is happening today, with the new technologies and the behaviors that we're seeing, I wouldn't dare say so, but I would dare at the same time to say that there seem to have been those gains that we see, but the use of them to elevate the standard of living is not forthcoming. I don't know what you guys think of this.
As far as general adaptability goes, I think that that's something that's that is essential in today's world. I do think in certain ways that Bucky is overestimating to some degree what technology can do, I think, in some ways. Not that he's not correct in some of these things, but I do think that, like, essentially how the credit card would work, or some of these, systems would be able to be interoperative. That part I can subscribe to. But one thing that Bucky talks about a lot is how these technologies would overcome political systems, and that doesn't seem to necessarily have occurred, or people's influences. There is an ephemeralization aspect of things where you're starting to see as to how he's calling out this difference from a Malthusian perspective, and how we're becoming more efficient. I would use the word effective with employing technologies around the world. But again, I do think that there's this continuous theme that Bucky does overestimate the I think he overestimates what technology is actually capable of doing as far as in government's ability to get in the way.
Yeah, you're probably right, Joe.
Generally speaking, he not in this particular instance. I think he's right when he's talking about it, when he's comparing it to Malthusian
But you see,
economic.
Joe, I just see three things. Maybe you help me connect them. On the one hand, there's ephemeralization, right?
Right.
That's a technical capability of using less and less to produce more and more of quality. But on another point, you have the power of capture of that. And I will illustrate that with the cryptomania that we had around the world in the past few years. There are technologies that can allow to increase trust. They just get captured by I don't know if it's cultural or whatever, but it became like everybody's talking about crypto and playing crypto in a way that doesn't change it from the money playing to produce nothing but just increase money. And the third has to do with education. Are people, yes, there is ephemeralization, but are we, as those masses that we want to improve their condition, are they educated into one, being aware of them, second, using them properly? I don't know, it seemed to me that the three things are not meshing well, whereas they have to come together in a way that they allow it to work for the maximum of people.
Okay. I also have something to add here. First is the background music interfering. Where I am? Is the background music interfering? No,
No, I can't hear anything. It's just
Okay.
you.
I think it's because of this the earphones. Yeah, I remember because the one that really stuck out for me is like Bucky earlier talked about this cosmic accounting, right? And that in the world, that in the universe there is no bankruptcy. Yeah. And what I'm seeing is that because we've been, for the past 15 years, we've been dealing a lot with the higher end individuals, more like from our students' parents to even dealing with corporations and developers and so on. And I'm seeing a radical shift. It's not even a small one, but a radical one in the second and third generation of the owners, of these businesses. And they're making very, very different decisions from the generation before. So right now, I'm dealing with people in Thailand and Indonesia, and these are young people who are like running their parents. They've taken over the running of plantations and developments as well. Like you're talking about 200 hectares of land in Bali and so on. And then they don't speak about like, okay, what can you do for me, as in them, and it's okay, they because as a school, they know that there are some schools that are very, very rich. They want them in one. Number one, their reputation, one of the more traditional schools. Some of the developers also own like something like 14 schools under their belt, right? But these young ones, they don't talk like that, and they are more, and in fact, the one in Bali, we're opening a school there by July, but kindergarten goes in first in January, right? The cousin who also deals with us updated us that there were quite a few education groups that came in to talk to them, but they weren't very keen because they said that these people are about what the developers can do for them and what they can get out of working for the developers, and they're choosing to work with us who have literally like they're self-funded, and therefore we don't have the kind of big budgets that these huge groups have, and they chose us over them. And that's not one. The Jakarta, the other developer did the same thing, and they're all in their 30s. In Thailand, it's the same thing. They're in their 30s. In KL, I'm also seeing the same thing because previously, I was told by my teachers, they deal quite a lot. The husband deals quite a lot with the top level entrepreneurs and business leaders in our country. Yeah, and so they said that previously when they spoke to when they meet these people and told them about say what we're doing in our school, the reaction is, oh, okay, they've not heard of it, but sounds very interesting. She says now when they talk to them, it's like, oh yes, I've heard of the school and I'm checking it out. Yeah. And it's not just about the school, it's more like when they're coming in, they're choosing the biosphere. You know, yesterday, 2 days ago, I was in a meeting with two gentlemen, and they're probably in their 40s, touching 50 perhaps, and the bankers. One is a banker, and the other is I think he pulls deals together. He also has his own businesses and all that. And he works with also pulling deals and funding together. So when he talked to us, it was very, very different because ESG now is driven by our national bank, and also all the banks have to follow that. If they invest, it has to do with companies with ESG values, and they're actually doing things that are ESG centric, right? So he was telling me that, if you know what you're doing, it'll be very easy for me to pull this together. And he is speaking to the Ministry of Human Resource because he knows they're funding there, and nobody knows how to teach on this ESG thingy, especially on the environment. And because our school, we started this biosphere, which is, and we're doing regeneration and so on. So the discussions have been very, very different the past, I would say, year. It's that recent past year. Japan, same thing. We're getting more and more young parents who are looking for a very, very different way of education. China is another one. When they heard about the biosphere, they heard about what we're doing with the Golf Academy and the entrepreneurship. They're looking, because China people can choose any country in the world, right? So, and Malaysia is attractive to them because we have the food and the people, the language is not unfamiliar. Like we do have people speaking Mandarin and Cantonese, and and we have a lot of Chinese food, so they can identify with that. Same thing with Indians coming over. We've got Indian food, and the Indian culture is strong in this country. But my point is, geographically they choose, but then why choose a school that has environment, all that? So the choices are coming in very, very unusual as of even before COVID, when we were speaking to these countries. Does that kind of put things in? Yeah. And our biosphere has grown to almost 100 students. People are flipping over from our regular system with entrepreneurship, and they're coming into the environmental one. Yeah. So and another thing is people are excited about the fact that there's an entertainment school coming up, and so it's a very different vibe I'm getting on the ground, and also the at the level of the investors and so on. Okay. So I thought I just want to bring it forth because I don't think back then they accounted for this. The fact that all these articles and people who are driving it is making an impact on the community and the world. Because the Western world, there are a lot of people very, very particular about the environment and so on. Like Scandinavian countries, I think in many parts of US, Canada, definitely. Now Asia is starting to follow suit. So this was written way back when this was not accounted for, I would say. Yeah, I'm done. Yeah.
So
It's
it
very
seems to be
Mm.
seems to be that education, one of the conditions is that that type of education that you're talking about and becomes mainstream.
Yes, correct.
Because that's where I think, we have the impression that Becky was ahead, and that, in terms of timing or when this could happen, He has been falling short. But we shouldn't be measuring by that yardstick. There is a necessity of education of people. Maybe it's too late for our generation, maybe. But the key is, how does those alternative, what appears as alternative education today, how will they become mainstream in such a way that it can convey those principles, those values, and they are more embraced. They are embraced in a more generalized way by as many people. Because it become like every parent has a choice between one type of school or the other without monetary financial barriers. Then people will see better. Today, the default is just the one that is chosen. The default is public schooling or private education the way we know it.
But it's very interesting to also find out, because now the prime minister of our country, they by 2027 they're rolling out a type of education, and we are waiting for it to be announced next week. We don't know what it's going to look like, and we know the MOE has come to even visit our school. But more importantly is, even in Indonesia, China has already done a lot to change out, in terms of the environment and so on. They're like foremost now in electric cars and keeping the environment clean in Asia in particular. So Indonesia is starting to step up as well, and because we have friends who are our partners, and he just talked to us the other day about taking on our IP. He wants exclusive rights to Indonesia because he wants to take it to the government, like our entrepreneur program and the environment program. And the environment program was very interesting because they have this, it was invested in by the Sequoia Group, two capsule hotels, right? And what they did with the capsule hotels was they went out into the countryside and had these, like, it's not glamping, but close enough. Like you're out in nature, but you have this very high tech, which is built into the environment rather than leveling the ground. Right, it's all covered. The trees are untouched, and so they have these little cabins. They call Bobo cabins. And literally, there's a lot of technology in there. You have to do all the technological stuff lah. Key in password or whatever to get in, and inside the whole room is you can control the what do you call, the lighting, the music, and one more. The one I really like is how they're doing their windows. So the window panes, you can, with the touch of a button, you can make it frosted or you can make it clear. So when you make it clear, it's like you are right in the middle of the forest, and the window is just you're inside the forest, but within your own little cabin as well. And they wanted an environmental program for schools to come in during weekdays and so on. So there are a lot of things like that going on in Asia. And Asia is the most stubborn actually out of all the regions when it came to the environment, and also on business. Because if you talk to Asia, they're like, it's about money. It's about business. And the reason I'm sharing all this is the change is really happening at the highest level. People choosing electric cars and like deliberately paying more, and choosing restaurants and all that. Like I'm eating plant-based meat now at this restaurant. All happening. Just to update. And once Asia gets into this, then you're talking about what's left would be probably Africa. And I think Africa is already moving in that direction. Middle East in some ways, not totally. The two busy fighting in but so Middle East is the other one, and left is I think South America. You know. Mm.
Are you describing the use of augmented reality?
Oh no, I'm not talking about augmented
Technology.
reality. It's just technology, like being able to control everything. Because of
But I'm
COVID,
saying, yeah,
uh,
because we're talking about you being in your cabin, and at the switch of a button, there appear environment that's
it's just that you are in the forest like area, and the window. You see, if you don't have curtains, you open it, you're already seeing all the greenery, right? So it's just
yes.
that
Mhm.
of curtains, the window can be controlled, frosted or unfrosted. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. All right.
It's really, really gorgeous what they've been doing right now. And I know for a fact that whatever they're doing, Japan is interested in the cabin because uh producing it in Indonesia is way cheaper than, producing it from Japan, that kind of thing. So, but very, very hopeful, because Asia is huge. The we have, the population is, I think, literally half of the world. And once we start moving in this direction, and the ones that never looked at it before are starting to, I am very, very hopeful. Mm, yeah.
But then how do you, so the developers, what you are saying is that the developers of the future, or future cities, or future built environment, are going to integrate that into what they put into development. Is that what you're saying, Anne?
Yes, and many of them are building without tearing down things, like in Penang, that's on the island that I grew up in. uh, there is this sort of protected area, and we call it Penang Hill, right? And they a couple of years back, they made it into a visitors area where people can really come in and enjoy the forest. Like literally, these are uncut forests in Penang, which is a very, very densely populated island for Malaysia. And they were able to build the what do you call, the treetop walk, right? Without touching the ground, for one. They went from tree to tree at the top level, and without uh, tearing down or even chopping down any trees to bring lorries and all that in. So much so that what they did appeared in National Geographic. A documentary was done. And they're doing very well up there. And it was supported by, it's actually funded and owned by a Hong Kong, a rich Hong Kong person. So this is what I mean. It's like crossing over, and it's amazing. I'm so thrilled by it. In East Malaysia, Borneo, the states from Malaysia. So there is this group of people who are working on planting back the forest, right? And it's led by a French lady, supported by the local community. And it's called Hutan in Malay, which means forest. And they're getting a lot of support from both government and even the corporate company who own the land gave it to them to reforest. And that company is like the casinos and all about making as much money as possible. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Joe, should we continue?
Sure.
Should I read,
Thank
or
you
do
for
you
that,
want to
Anne.
continue reading?
You're welcome.
I'll continue to read. I'll give it a shot. Because one, the interalloying of metals produces the invisible revolution of ever higher strength and durability performance per pound of material employed, and because two, the higher performances produce new conditions of technological challenge. New alloys and new atomic circuits are progressively discovered and developed to provide ever more satisfactorily advanced performances. And because, number three, the structures of and energy operated machines using the ever improving metal alloy capabilities progressively make obsolete the older machines and structures. The latter becomes progressively scrapped and melted. It is World Games' concern to see that the progressively recovered metals are alloyed anew in ever higher performance atomic arrangements and are ever more prominently reemployed in new machinery and structures of ever higher performance with ever less weights and volumetric bulks. The progressive is the progression is known in world gaming as ever progressively accelerating ephemeralization. Okay. Took me a minute to get my head together, guys. Wherefore, with ever accelerated scrapping, recovery, and recirculation, the same basic metals and the alloys of those metals progressively serve the needs of ever more people at ever higher standards of performance. Thus, we discover that the world's already mined and used ever recirculating metals become the technologically regenerative universal bloodstream for realizing the ever improving know-how of human advancement of its ever increasingly ability to cope with vital challenges. The metals and chemistries in general have thus become recirculable medium, have thus become the recirculable medium upon which is loaded the new advanced design science inventions resultant upon progressively advanced experiences and knowledge of humanity regarding how to cope more effectively with life's evolutionary successive challenges. Within the 20th century, this invisible revolution of continually learning how to do more with the same or more with less resources, metallurgically, electronically, chemically, mechanically, structurally, aerodynamically, and hydrodynamically, has in only 3/4 of the 20th century brought 60% of humanity into enjoying a vastly more effective, healthier, and more realistically informative means of coping with life's challenges than was experienced by the most powerful monarch or financial or political potentate. Anyway, I'll come back to that, of 1900. Furthermore, during the 80 years of time, the world population has doubled, wherefore the gain has been 120-fold. During the same 20th century, first 8 decades, life expectancy has been doubled for the 60% thus advantaged, and the range of their everyday travelability has 20-fold. During those same 80 years, that 60% of humanity has gone from 90% illiterate to 95% literate. That is pretty impressive. There are no locally rooted peoples. They are on their way to becoming omni-world around living humans preoccupied with local universes' evolutionary affairs. In 1948, the average U.S. family moved out of town every 5 years. In 1978, they moved every 3 years. Did I say 1978 twice? I meant 1948. In 1970, the percent of those unprecedentedly advantaged passed the 50% mark. Since 1970, and for the first time in history, the majority of humanity has become widely traveling halves, in contrast to the previous multi-millions of years of 99% of all humans being locally rooted have-nots. The number of USA millionaires quintupled in 8 years, from 110,000 to 1971 to 550,000 in 1979. The plotted curve of the rate of gain for increasing proportions of all humanity being thus swiftly advantaged by doing more for more people with less and less matter and energy per function, all accomplished with computers, satellites, alloys, etc., indicates that 100% of all humanity will be thus advantaged before 2000 AD in less than 20 years, less than one generation. All humanity is scheduled by evolution, not by any world planning body, to become physically more successful and metaphysically more interestingly occupied than have any humans ever been in all known history, provided that humanity does not commit ignorance, fear, and panic-induced total species suicide. Go a couple more paragraphs and then we'll make some comments. Why might they panic? All the present bureaucracies of political governments, great religious organizations, all big business, and find that physical success for all humanity would be devastating to the perpetuation of their ongoing activities. This is because all of them are founded on the premise of ameliorating individual cases while generally exploiting on behalf of their respective political, religious, or business organizations the condition of nowhere nearly enough life support for all, and its resulting great human suffering and discontent. Reason number 2 for fear-wrought panic is because all of the 150 nations of our planet are about to be disorganized. Disorganized. Okay. By evolution. By evolution. That is, they are about to become operatively obsolete, about to be given up altogether. There are millions in USA, for instance, who, on discovery that their government was about to become bankrupt and defunct, would become activist patriots and might get out their guns and start a Nazi movement, seeking dictatorially to reinstate the good old days. If people in many of the 150 nations succeeded in reestablishing their sovereignties and all the customs barrier, balance of trade shacklings, it would soon be discovered that the 150 nations represent 150 blood clots, imperiling the free interflowing of the evolution producing metals and products recirculation, as well as of the popular technical know-how disseminated. Any comments or questions over these last few paragraphs there? I mean, just quite a bit here. I mean, he talks a little bit about some of the progress. It kind of reminds me of Steven Pinker, how he talks about some of the progress that we've been able to make, specifically in relationship to travel. Travel's dropped drastically over the past since 1970, actually. I think that I forget what it is, the price per mile that we pay now, but it's significantly dropped. And that we do have more as far as material goods go than we have in the past, and there are less people in extreme poverty. However, there are still extreme disparities, and I think that that could obviously be problematic on a number of levels. again, he's crediting the computers, satellites, and alloys that all humanity advantaged before 2000 AD. I don't think all of humanity has been advantaged, but um, uh, there is progress. But the one thing that needs to be asked often is one of sustainability, I think. That the idea that this progress is being made, whether it's sustainable at the current rate, is questionable at best for a number of reasons. One, because of the disparities in wealth, and two, by the way we're using our natural resources and the way we're structured right now. Now, it's those would be my comments for now. I think he does get into the bureaucracies and political and the religious organizations. But I won't go into that right now. Anybody else have any thought?
Yeah, I have, unless Anne want to come in. She seems to have moved a little bit.
Yeah, I'm
But-
here.
Okay. So
why
let me,
don't-
yeah, Anne?
You go ahead first.
Okay, I was going to say that Bucky seemed to think a few things, right? Ephemeralization is using less resources, less energy to produce ever more, right? Okay. Now, in terms of the resources, it seemed to think that enough, like say, mining has been done already, right? That the emphasis should be on recirculating. Recirculating the used material for other purposes that are more effective. So, but if you look at the structure that has today, a lot of resources are still being put into new mining, right? While the recirculation is outlawed in many countries, in that because it is not mainstream and it's been made illegal, you have people who are, for example, gutting out, copper, off
Right,
electric.
out of homes.
Yes, they do it pretty illegally.
Yeah.
And recirculating it. Whereas it should have been something that is kind of legal in such a way that people don't resort to go and get those things. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Okay, that is the first point. The second point then, to me, bring about that we have to have a model. And that model is, we have mined, maybe I'm repeating myself here, we are mined enough, we have to think about recirculation. And it gives two reasons there why there will be opposition to that. Is that any organized that is based on the old mode of thinking will only see the perils of empowerment of the widest population possible, right? Yes. So they will switch into a defensive. And then it brings about, and it say the only way that will happen if there is fear, right?
Right.
And then we see that
Right.
there's been a lot of fear mongering around in the world from all kind of quarters. There is fear cultivation, fear kind of people are just scared of many things. So that keep their minds away, in my opinion, from the new thought and the empowering possibilities that exist out there already. And to you, you seem to have moved.
Yeah. For me, I think it's more about what are we worried about, right? What are we actually worried about? Because um worrying about the world is not within actually our control, right?
Right.
Because the world, whether we are here or not, it doesn't matter to the universe or the world. Okay. And that one is from watching that Life on Planet Earth on Netflix right now. And because yes, we are actually working towards our own demise, if you will. Yeah, with the climate warming and you know, us creating a lot of pollutants and things like this, right? At the end of the day, so because watching that program, at the end it was all about the fact that we are accelerating a lot of things that have happened over the millennia. Um, we're talking about the Earth becoming colder, Earth becoming warmer, and then there was one point on Earth where the sea, literally all the sea creatures died. It didn't even need human beings to be around, all because the vegetative materials ended up in the water, and it just created a lot of, if I'm not wrong, I'm watching it again actually to get all the details. It created a lot of algae, or that kind of covered in what do you call it? The sun couldn't get into the sea, number one, and there wasn't enough oxygen, and so huge creatures died at sea. So that was even without us around. But it looks like we are accelerating for this to possibly happen. And if it happens at such a scale, there's nothing any one of us can do. Nothing, you know? And so I think the concern now is more about us human beings, whether we can survive, you know, a million years, right? But the world, it won't matter to them anyway, you know. So that's I think the point that uh, reading Buckminster Fuller, and as he talks about the universe and cosmic integrity and all that, I realized that yeah, that's we do the best that we can, but ultimately whatever comes, it comes, and it won't impact the world a little bit. Yeah. That's what I have to say about it. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Mm.
Well, shall we continue?
Yes, please.
Okay. Was it we have today, in fact, 150 Supreme Admirals and only one ship, spaceship Earth. We have the 150 admirals in their 150 staterooms, each trying to run their respective stateroom as if it were a separate ship. We have the starboard side Admirals League trying to sink in the port side Admirals League. If either is successful in carrying the ship,
Really? Yeah.
careening. Yeah, thank you. Careening the ship to drown the enemy side, the whole ship will be lost. Long ago, the world's great religions learned how to become transnational, or more effectively, supranational. Next, the world's great ideologies learned how to become supranational. Most recently, the world's largest financial enterprise corporations have become completely supranational in their operation. big religion ideologies and businesses alike found it intolerable to operate only within 150 walled-in pens, freeing themselves by graduating into supranational status. Supranational status. I'm sorry. They have left all the people in the 150 pens to struggle with all the disadvantages of the 150 mutually opposed economic policies. The European Economic Community is a local attempt to cope with this world problem. The United States of America is not a nation. Nations are large tribes of humans that have been geographically isolated for millennia and have progressively inbred the physical types surviving under those unique geographical conditions. As mentioned, the USSR had 146 naturally evolved nations to integrate the genomes of each USSR nation, looking quite different from the others. The United States of America is a crossbreeding integration of humans from all the nations of the planet Earth. Though often speaking of itself as the United States of America, it is not America. Its population is only one half that of North and South America. The North Americas consisting of Canadians and the U.S. citizens and Mexicans are evolutionary crossbreeding into a single hybrid family of world humans. Let me just scroll down here. As sequel to the foregoing scientific data, see chapter 1, pages 9 through 11, which proves the invalidity of humanity's assumptions of a plurality of different races and classes of humans to exist on our planet. The computer will be able to help in discovering the swiftest course for humanity to pursue in order to free itself of such self-deception. The computer can also disclose the economic savings of humanity to be accomplished by elimination of race, class, and creed differentials. The computers can and will show the increases in commonwealth to be realized by such elimination of false premises in social judgments. Good luck with that. World gaming produces truthful, ergo corresponding insights that are popularly communicable by world around. Satellite relayed television, the practical workings of which and their demonstrably favorable results for all may readily induce agreeing vision and courage on the part of all individuals of spontaneously and progressively intercooperative humanity. It is the invisibility of the alloys and chemistries and of the electronic circuitry of the design science revolution, which finds that revolution to be as yet uncomprehended and ignorantly opposed by humanity's reliance on yesterday's political visible means of problem solving. It is both the invisibility and misinformedness that occasions that lack of spontaneous popular support of the invisible design science revolution by the most powerful political and money-making systems. Big government can see no way to collect taxes to run its bureaucracy if people are served directly and individually by daily cosmic energy, wealth, income. Moneymakers cannot find a way of putting meters between people and the wind, sun, waves, etc. Neither big government nor big business pays any serious attention to the fact that we can live on our energy income rather than on nature's energy savings account, fossil fuels. or by burning our spaceship Earth's physical hull, which consists entirely of atomic energy in the form of matter. In
And recommend that
1969, no, please do.
I don't know if I'm right on this, but here, no, the last paragraph that you read, that money makers cannot put meters between the individual and the wind and sun. They have done so.
Yeah,
They have done so very clearly. Here, if you have solar panels on your roof, there's what they call bidirectional meters that they put in order for you to input in the grid. Call them smart meters, right?
right.
That allow them to sell you energy in terms of your deficiency at higher rate and buy from you at 1/3 of a rate that they will sell it for. That's the reality here. That's one. The second reality is that of US, in that the finance, a lot of people are embrace the so-called green energies, but the finance are interested itself in. You have developers going and putting in the costs or whatever, the finance of it, or even banking offering finance for green energy. And then you take a loan. Since people live on the edge, there's no savings, right? The leverage is so high. So you take a further loan to put and have this facility on your roof or somewhere. And then if you don't pay the cut, they have a right, they are the owners of the solar panel that are onto your roof. So if you don't pay the loan, it reposes. So you spend your life paying again interest.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So the debt of the international debt, the debt of the world has been brought to such level that it stifles that individual emancipation that those technologies were supposed to convey.
Yeah, the debt has actually crowded out much of the effectiveness of the new technologies. In the sense that, God,
no, the people are still in, they're crowded in, but they are shackled
right,
by debt. You get what I'm trying to say?
right.
Through debt,
Yeah.
the banking and whatever is still controlling the situation. And will make sure that it's never going to be generalized. That was my point. I don't know what Anne thinks.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
What do you?
Actually, and he talked about countries and all that going supranational and all that stuff and so on, and religion and all that could actually be the undermining factors, right? And that was in the 80s, and we're seeing it happening more and more today, right? So I mean, but Mr. Fuller really looks further ahead than most people. But the one that I really like as well is this whole wait, now let me see where it is. Yeah, the fact that the crossbreeding is creating a world humans. I really like that. Yeah, you don't really think about it. And the crossbreeding, because back then it was North America, South America, and Central America. Now it's also across Asia to the west and so on. Even in the east alone, there's a lot of crossbreeding as well. Yeah. To the point where I remember my Canadian colleagues, because I was teaching in the Canadian PRU program in college in the 90s, yeah. And so my Canadian colleagues, when every time they come here to teach, the first thing they tell me is that, and we can't tell the difference. The students, they're just like, we can't tell the difference with Caucasians, whether they are from let's say Anglo-Saxon, or if they are from the other nations, like whether they're Swedish or Scandinavian and so on, right? We can't tell the difference. So likewise, when they came here, I'm like, they can't tell the difference between if they can't tell the difference between Taiwanese, Japanese, Koreans, Chinese, and the Malaysian Chinese, I get it. But they couldn't tell the difference between Malays, Chinese, and Indians. To us, it's very, very clear, right? Then I thought about it and I realized why. Because you have darker skinned Chinese, you have lighter skinned Indians, you have Malays who are also lighter skin and darker skin. And so when you actually pull it together, you can't really tell. Some is very clear, but majority are not. So this idea of the world humans is really powerful for me. And yes, I think that's mainly where I'm at. Yeah. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, but the question there, Anne, right?
Mm,
You see, improvement in medicine
mm,
increases life expectancy,
yes.
but life expectancy, because I don't know if it's because of concept or whatever, also decrease fertility. I'm talking
Mm.
about general
Yeah.
fertility. People feel like they can have less kids. So aging kicks in, right? Now, you take Japan, or to a certain extent China too, right?
Mm.
Their population is decreasing in Japan already.
Yeah.
In China, it's stagnant and it's going to decrease. So with the entity of China at its own, if it stays without allowing the interbreeding, right, there's going to be an issue. The only variable here is time.
Mm.
Hmm.
So I find that Bucky saw the point, but he thought that technology will allow people to even think and do it swiftly. But it's not happening because we have herd behavior, or we fear and stay with what is old, or what is prevalent, what is safe. I don't know if I'm putting my point across clearly.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I mean,
think
go ahead. It was very clear.
Yeah, that makes a lot of
Good.
sense. Because these world humans, we might not even get to that stage. Yeah. Mm.
I mean, there's a common theme throughout the entire book is this idea of how debt and finance and big business actually drown out the ability to make progress, or it can stymie innovation or stymie. And he went over that when he was talking about with like the Dodge brothers a little bit earlier on in the book, how banks got involved and things along those lines, that there was no longer ownership from the entrepreneur, that it was the ownership from based on financial institutions, and that these financial institutions didn't necessarily have any interests, which actually didn't had a way of having a negative impact on the overall technology, actually the car itself.
Mm.
And what you have seen in this industry actually is until recently, until Elon Musk, to be quite honest, you haven't seen any innovation in the automotive industry. You saw debt, you saw consolidation, you saw all kinds of issues, and up until recently. I mean, Toyota, I guess, had its run and its success, and it still does have a lot of success. But anyway, I'm a little bit off on a tangent here, but I see what you're saying as far as the some of the predictions that Bucky is saying is that the technology is not necessarily having the impact that he thought it would. And it's because of some of the same problems that existed 100 years ago still exist today.
Yeah. But I
And
think
so,
I
okay,
think
sorry.
Kiyosaki has a point.
Mm.
The greatest, in my opinion, the greatest power or tool of a grunge is money.
Mm.
You get me?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, and with money, you can focus the mind. If you control money, you can focus the mind. And the issue has been, there hasn't been any financial education on purpose. You take in most countries in the world, in the mainstream of education, there's no finance. People
Mm.
don't know what money
Yeah.
is. And people don't know, actually, don't they know what money is. But you know, I mean, today, you ask people, if you tell somebody that money is dead today, you wouldn't understand. And the reality is it is dead. Debt is controlling all exchange.
Right.
You get me?
Mm.
So when you get entrapped in the money nest, you go nowhere.
Yep. Yep.
You can be as creatively as you want. You need to understand the game. You need to understand that there is a real energy game, like World Games that Bucky is talking about. And
Mm.
there is a game that is metaphysical, the game of money.
Mhm.
And that has very, very real and potent physical consequences. There is no magic that if you spend more than you earn, you are going to move higher in using the resource because it's basic. It's a basic system.
Mm.
Ephemeralization that we're talking about is producing more than you spend,
Mhm.
using less resources for ever higher result. You don't understand that, you haven't understood the principle, the basic balance of things to do. Energy flows, energy always flows, energy flows to the line of least resistance.
Mhm.
You get me?
Yeah.
Mm.
So that is to me the point. And that's why he was talking, he talked about it here in terms of fear mongering. And in my experience of the past 40 years, every time that there's been panic in the world, is panic from finance. Let me just say, I don't know if using the word finance is from the means of exchange.
Right.
Today is debt. But people have been fed debt, and that's all they know. They take. And what is debt? Is a consequence of not adhering to delayed gratification on one side. That's what debt is, because I want all today. And I don't have the means for having all today in the system. Therefore, there's a leeway that is cheap, that appears cheap, that is, hey, the bank is say, you want this, you want 3 TVs, we can give you the means of having 3 TVs. But your time is linear. Are you going to watch 3 TVs?
Right.
And we all entrapped by that. We all.
Oh yeah, it manufactures this demand because you see
the
someone
whole-
else with 3 TVs.
Yeah. And the whole system of the money, like for example, you look on Wall Street at the in the securities market, is or companies are obliged to report quarterly. If you are reporting quarterly, you don't have any focus on actually producing the goods or services.
Yeah, you have the short-term incentive, and that gets back to the idea that you're not necessarily circular in your thinking. So it's not necessarily recycling that you're thinking about. You're thinking about just the next quarter, which is, yeah, there's perverted incentives, but there's also something else that allows fear to manifest itself. Is when Bucky talks about the idea of comprehensivity, if you have a comprehensive approach, an understanding of a system, it's a lot harder to scare the people. But if you're
Okay.
specialized,
Yes.
if you're specialized, then people become very narrow in their perspective on the world, and thus you can actually scare them a lot more easily.
Yeah.
So industrialized education, or it's kind of like almost a manufacturing line, is something that is essential to maintaining control. And so I think that's my battery's about to go dead. Just give me 1 second.
Yes. What do you think of that,
But
Anne? Yes.
Oh, I love it. I love what Joe just said. You know,
Yeah.
that the more specialized people are, the easier it is to control them and to scare them. Yeah, because then the view is like we were talking about earlier, the end, how far it can see, you know, and you cannot see that the curve of the world. You see a flat piece of land, and only very very localized to where they are. I like that a lot. Oh wow. Yep.
yeah, I'll be back in 1 sec.
Oh, the other one is I really am looking at the World Games to bring it over to having it available here. I'm not sure how, but I will check in to see how to get that going.
Say again, Susan.
World the World Games. Yeah, I'm very
Okay.
interested to see how to bring it in over here. I'll get my people on it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just make one more quick comment. Is that, as you mentioned, Manu, like money is generally not taught. The monetary system is generally not taught, at least at a younger age, how to handle money, how to use debt, and things along those lines. And I think that not having that knowledge actually creates a sense of confusion as to what is going wrong in the economy sometimes. Not understanding what it is, what money actually is. And that goes back to the comprehensivity. That's what kind of spurred that idea. So I think that's one thing that Bucky's continually hammering home. But at the same time, it seems like he's still an optimist with the technological aspect of things. But it really does seem like this, between debt and specialization, that the technology doesn't necessarily have the impact that we thought it would.
Mm.
So,
Well, I think that's why he insisted so much on his whole map, this map here, because once put, you know, like visually horizontally, it shows you where in the world game where the resources are concentrated, where the needs are, and how to most effectively convey that is moving energy around the world.
right.
You hear me? And that is important. That is
That is very,
that should be part of curriculum of education.
yeah, absolutely.
But that scares the shit out of, sorry, of a word. It scares a lot an education system that want to make specialists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good citizens, so to speak.
Because specialists, you want to create dependency on the conditions upon which you need that. You know, another way to look at specialists is to restraining the conditions at the boundary, putting many conditions
Right.
such that your domain of competency is narrow. If your domain of competency is narrow, your amplitude, you know, of effectiveness into that very narrow domain is very high. Therefore, you specialize. Specializing means that you are out of the common. You are better than the common in those specific circumstances. Right?
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really like how you put that too. The boundary becomes much smaller,
Yeah.
or the circle, so to speak. Yeah,
Yes.
and with that, obviously the opportunities and your understanding of how the world works
Yeah.
is limited.
A
So-
narrow boundary is an oxymoron with continuously evolving universe. Everything is changing all the time. All conditions are changing. That's why Berkey said generalized adaptability is necessary to cope with changing environment. He said that somewhere before, and then he said that history shows uncontrovertibly that species extension has always been brought about by extreme specialization. I remember saying something like that, right?
Yeah, in the first paragraph that we
Yes.
read.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So
No, I mean, there's a.
yeah.
I'm sorry. No, go
So we
ahead.
cannot say that we want to simulate what nature does and not do what Anne is doing. It's not possible.
Mm.
You can't be shooting yourself in the foot and expecting that you are going to walk long distance. No ways.
I like that one. Actually, I'm really enjoying
No,
the
we shoot
discussion.
for. Me too. I had to wake up. Sorry, guys. I was a little bit slow there in the beginning because I just was gathering my thoughts about me, my wits about me, I should say. But this is actually a really, this is a really deep couple of few pages that we've read here, with a lot of, I could go back over and really kind of, speak about some of the things that, in a little bit with a little bit more clarity. I just needed to wake up for a moment. Shall we quit? Maybe read a couple more paragraphs and then we'll go to takeaways. Or
I may have to go.
it was
I think
okay.
Joe,
Oh, so do
we
you
can
want to?
conclude here. No, it's fine. You know.
Okay. Okay.
Three of us.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's-
Where I think it was right here, right?
Here in the invisibility of our lives in chemistries of the electronic circuitry. There, it is the invisibility. That's where we have to start next time. It is.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
What'll be 12 Depends on where you are, 12/9.
Oh yeah, I
Really?
was asking Steve, because earlier, when are we stopping for, I know normally we stop for Christmas, right? When will we be
Mhm.
stopping?
I think that I will suggest, I mean, because I will be unavailable from mid-month.
So you're
So
looking,
next weekend is the 9th,
Yeah.
and the following one is the 17th. There's a long weekend here. Me, next weekend, the 10th will be my last for this year.
okay.
Okay.
So,
And then we usually stop from mid-December to mid-January.
okay, all right. So next week will be the last one? Yeah?
But we do Wednesdays, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
Wednesday.
We would, Wednesday also for me will be, I will be off for a month, personally.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
So maybe that one we'll discuss on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, if it is off, then we're off. So,
Mm.
We're gonna see.
um,
So depending on where I am, if I can connect, that will be fine.
Yeah, and I think that will be fine as well, because things get really, really busy and crazy, you know, on weekends. The minute we are hitting closer, like even towards December, most people are all over the place as well. So I think that will be a good place to pause, and then we'll come back again next year. Do we
Yeah.
have a date, or should we make the decision on Sunday next week as to when we come back? Shall we do that?
Yes.
yeah, sure.
Yes.
I think that's a good idea.
Yes.
Mm. Okay.
Cool. So I'm gonna stop this share. Yeah, I think that this I have obviously a bit of adjustments, so a lot of adjustments going on in my life. So this time off actually would be help me get a little bit of a pattern down.
Yes.
So anyway, uh okay. Start with Ann last time, so we'll start with Manu. Manu, my friend. It's good to see you. Appreciate you being here. How you feeling? What are you taking away from today?
I'm actually quite tired because I didn't sleep much last night. I have in total probably 3 hours of sleep. I'll go and sleep again now. And I was really slurry, You can't imagine how I was trying to open my eyes. But anyway, it was a very good call. And I think that we've touched onto some pretty fundamental. They appear maybe obvious or not obvious, but they are pretty fundamental in how, and I like the way Anne put it in terms of education, people being, like taking decisions that will affect the lives of their children and their friends. So, that is the way we build that highway of change that Berkey so much saw in anticipation, more than 40 years ago. And that's the only way I think we can do. The grunge is a lot more powerful than we thought. And it's only in education, through education, can we really change and reposition in a way that we change the world for the better, for all humans. So that's my biggest takeaway. It was simple, but that's what. Otherwise, I really appreciate that each and every of us, in spite, especially Joe, in spite of the circumstances of your loss, you made the effort to be here today. And that is very telling of the commitment that you have and the love that you have for here. So in return, also, we wish you really a lot of grace to be with you and strength, in faces of those circumstances. Then you come up well. So that's my biggest takeaway. And how do you feel? What do you take away?
I want to say thank you to both of you, because I think out of the three of us, and generally when we have a discussion with in the US and you, Manu, the time is most favorable to me, you know, and for both of you, have a good rest because I know you're going back to bed, and Joe is just about to go to bed, and have a good rest. The one thing I really thoroughly enjoyed today was more at the worldview of things, right? Yeah, we're talking about the branch of giants. It really shocked the heck out of me the first time I saw how the controls were in place and even the reasoning behind it. And then here comes Bucky, making like he just threw that little pebble into this pond and the ripple effect, and people are more and more aware of what has been under the control of the big giant. Yeah. And the one thing I'm seeing more and more, and I think it will come to pass, just a matter of when, uh, because of this whole um, focus on the world and the environment and so on. And I went to see the Eden Project, and I have a feeling that sooner or later people are going to be living off the grid. Yeah. And choosing places that generally may cost a lot less because people may choose not to go there because infrastructure is not in place and so on. But just imagine if you have a dome that is completely, you have solar panels on them, for instance, right? Keeps the sun out at the same time, it creates energy. And the next thing is if water can be circulated 100% or even 80%, and not a lot needs to be brought in from elsewhere. After all, if you look at the water on Earth is circulated, right? It's over and over and over again cycled back. You know,
Yes.
we don't
Yes.
bring water in. So when my students sometimes they write without thinking, yeah, because of the way the education is, and these are students coming from all schools in Malaysia, and they would write things like, "We're going to run out of water." I'm like, no, the water doesn't disappear from the earth. You know, it's either in whatever shape or form it's going to come in, whether it's solid, liquid, or gas. And the only difference is whether it's water or not. That's it. Potable water, drinking water, clean water supplies. That's the difference between that versus running out of water. So likewise, somebody can figure a way to fix to sort that out. You can literally create an ecosystem that's very, very sustainable. Technology, I think, will get us there. And then this whole thing with finance, and now that people are more and more aware, and like we see, I think when cryptocurrency came into being, it opened the eyes to the world that you can create your own money and you don't need to depend on the sovereign nations to create the money. And I think that also kind of took away some power from the grunge who are controlling all the world's bank, right? And let's see. And the other thing is in India, in China, Indonesia, no, not China, but Indonesia, people are working on getting the unbankable to have the a footprint on the digital side. Yeah, once that happens, you know that things will start to change. Yeah, more and more of that is coming in. So yeah, that's what I got out of our discussions today. And thank you so much, Manu and Joe. And Joe, how do you feel and what is your takeaway today?
I want to thank you both, for being here. It was it's comforting to come here. It means a lot to me. And so it's a place where I feel safe, seeing our group. So dealing with ups and downs right now, but having you in my life is something that stabilizes things. So thank you for showing up. I thought that this is a one of those interesting things that one of the things that CJ actually had talked about the most was being a comprehensivist. The idea of being a comprehensivist, that was one of the most important things. And it wasn't just important because he loved to learn, which he did. That was what he would have done above all other things. But he also understood the importance that it had as far as social harmony was concerned. And the inability to create fear and division when people have a more comprehensive view of the world, that they are more tolerant of other individuals' opinions, and that they're also continually exploring and testing their own viewpoints in the world. And that leads to dialogue. And so, and dialogue exists, and this is one of the things that had come out of today's conference that I attended, is that dialogue exists, and this is the reason why virtue is important, is that because there's a basic respect for one another and a willingness to say that we don't know something. So that it's a genuine exploration in order to determine what is true. And so, that's why I think that this, when Bucky started out today, he's going back and forth between, criticizing the financial system, looking at the technology, but ultimately it comes down to our ability to engage with one another and to be comprehensivists, and the harmony that comes along with that. So I say that because next week it'll be a year since he's gone. So it's a lot more than just being educated just because of it's something that we enjoy doing. It's essential in order for us to actually to progress and even survive. So as to not let the current systems dictate our way of thinking and dictate our imaginations, and allows us to and don't necessarily, and that we allow ourselves to actually embrace new ideas. So that's why I think it was a really good session. A lot of it was spurred on essentially by explaining when you said money's not taught in school. That is so true. It really is. So those are my final takeaways, and so thank you guys both for being here. I had a good day today, extending my day 2 more hours where I had a good day. So thank you for that. So now I gotta go deal with the reality. So,
Okay.
but thanks. I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Faith
See you.
permitting. Faith permitting.
Wednesday. See you Wednesday.
All right.
Oh yeah, Wednesday. I'm sorry, Wednesday. Forgive me.
Yes.